Good evening and welcome to SUTV Live. We'll be building up the action at Ashton Gate from our studio here at Bramall Lane as Sheffield United travel to Bristol City. Saturday's win at the Hawthorns gives the Blades the chance to record back-to-back wins for the first time since September. The last time they did so was also on the road. In today's show, we'll look back at that 2-0 victory over West Brom, hear goalscorer Oli McBurnie's reaction to the win, assess the challenge Bristol City pose, and get Chris Basham's thoughts ahead of tonight's game. Kick-off at Ashton Gate is just under an hour away, and for all the match pass information and broadcasting regulations for tonight's game, go to the website sufc.co.uk. Well, we're live from the studio here at Bramall Lane, setting the scene for tonight's match, Bristol City against Sheffield United, and alongside me, Deane and Gage, running the rule over tonight's action and, of course, looking back to what went on last Saturday. And Brian, I think it's fair to say, first of all, everybody's feeling a bit happier and a bit more optimistic.
Yeah, I think, from a forwards point of view, I thought the front two on Saturday were excellent. But overall, just getting a win and kind of that kind of performance again was just helps to put the team back on track, and they showed a real togetherness, I felt, at times. And
of course, still right up there as well, Kevin, right up there where they want to be, fourth as we speak, and a win tonight, and then if they can get a win against Burnley on Saturday, things are really moving well. But it's a sense of optimism, and I should imagine you're looking forward to tonight thinking, hey, we can get 3 points here.
Yeah, of course. You always think that, don't you? But it was great to win on Saturday. Yeah, it was long overdue, and I think we got the result. We haven't played badly in the last 5-6 games. We just haven't got the results haven't been going for us, and things have been, we're just a victim of circumstances really. Events were conspiring against us. So we didn't play superbly well Saturday, but we did enough to win the game.
Well, we've got the team that has just come in, and I can tell you that there are 4 changes from the side that won on Saturday. In comes Wes Fodringham, Sharp, Robinson and Kadri. So a rejigged look to that, Kevin.
Yeah, well, we expected Wes to come back, so there's no surprise there. Adam Davis has done fine, but I think Wes is our first choice goalkeeper. The one surprise really is Billy Sharp coming in, although I do understand why, because by the looks of McBurnie on Saturday, he put in so much effort to that game and he looked dead on his feet at the end of the game. So I understand how Billy Sharp's coming in. We understand that Tommy Doyle's got a bit of a calf injury, yeah. So I think they're just resting him, just playing on the safe side. But as one person, drops out, then it gives opportunities for someone else, and there's a huge opportunity here for Kadri to come back into the side and really show us what he's worth, because he hasn't really looked at anything at the moment. He scored against Swansea, but every other time he's come on, hasn't really done an awful lot. So big opportunity for him. And also in defence, we know what Robinson's all about. Absolutely no problem whatsoever with Robinson coming in there on the left side centre half. He was superb at the back end of last season, and hopefully he's fully fit, raring to go, and we'll see the Robinson we all know and love.
Brian, I know that Oli McBurnie's been in the goals 7 now. That was his 7th at the weekend, but we know he's got this problem which is going to require surgery at some stage for a hernia. So for Paul Hetherington, it's kind of nursing him through. It's squad management.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've talked enough over time about the options that Paul's got. So but it's great to have somebody like Billy coming in there. And Billy's at that time of his career now where every minute is he wants to make an impression. Absolutely. So I think you'll get a good shift out of him. We seem to, we run out of superlatives for Ndiaye. He's been doing extremely well. So it's about having that balance. I'll be interested to see how they set about the Bristol City defence. We know what Billy's going to be doing. He's going to be harassing. you know, is a good person to have in the box because of his ability to lose defenders and so on. So it's a really interesting shout, and obviously, you know, the injury, as from Oli McBurnie's point of view, has probably come at a bad time, you know, while he's running into some form, but that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Leaves us a little bit short, you know, doesn't it? Because McBurnie's so crucial to us in both penalty areas. You know, we know about his attacking prowess, but defensively, on defensive set pieces, he's so vital at getting the good headed clearances away. So, you know, we're a little bit light going up front with Billy and Ndiaye, and obviously Kedra floating about. It'll be interesting to see where Kedra plays, because we're thinking that John Fleck and Norwood will be two central midfielders, with Kedra, as you see on the graphic there, just kind of floating about. You don't want him to restrict him to a left-sided midfield or right midfield. He's best just saying, you know, go wherever you can, go wherever you want to, and affect the play. So that'll be interesting to see how he fits in. So it's a very, very slight formation change possibly for United tonight, but one they should be able to more than cope with.
Before we look at his season and the way he's playing in depth, which we will do a little bit later on, Iliman Ndiaye, I mean, the way he's putting games together back to back, he's putting up a mighty impressive season so far.
Absolutely, and you know, it's for somebody so young, you know, his responsibility in this team is growing, and he seems to be putting in very mature performances, and you know, he's doing things that, you know, get the crowd on the edge of the seat. You know, those long runs that he's been doing, is very difficult to push off the ball, and those are the kind of players that people want to see. You know, those are the kind of players that, you know, excite the fans, and it's been great. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White last year, I felt they were very similar, two very good players. I think potentially he's got more, you know, he can go further, I think.
Would I be right in saying there's just a little bit more spite in Ndiaye than there was in Gibbs-White? He's
for sure.
He's a handful, isn't he?
Oh, for sure. He's got that kind of, he's got that tenacity about him. Yeah, I'm not going to call it a nasty streak, because that's doing him a detrimental. Yeah, but you know what I mean. He's competitive, and he puts his foot in, and he hunts the ball back. You know, if it goes astray or he loses it or someone else loses it, he's the first one to try and get it back. So he's got that in his game. I mean, it's rare to see a player so talented with that much natural flair be so determined and so good at tackling and fighting and scrapping for the ball. You know, usually you think of your flair players, they flit about, they do this, that and the other. But he's a real battler. I agree with Brian. I think he's got more natural ability than Morgan Gibbs-White. And I think the Gibbs-White transfer in the summer has probably made him take stock of what a good player he is, and brought him to another level, because he's probably sat at home thinking, do you know what, that could be me next summer, you know, if I put the goods out for Sheffield United next year. And of course he's going to the World Cup. He could actually come back from the World Cup.
He might not,
you know,
come back.
A world superstar. We might have a world superstar on our hands.
We will see. Well, the team, I'm sure, are going to be bubbling with enthusiasm and with no shortage maybe of confidence going into this game this evening. And as usual, as the team arrived, we had the chance to shove a microphone in front of one of them. Today it was the turn of Ben Osborne.
Ben, you came on as a late substitute after all the drama here over Easter. You start tonight. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, off the back of a good result at the weekend, so we just want to carry on from where we left off. Really, try and get a result here. Tough place to come. And set us up for a good week.
Had a look at the pitch. All good. Looks like a nice carpet.
It looks like the best pitch we've played on, to be fair. So no excuses tonight.
And the Saturday Tuesdays continue. They're a little bit relentless, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. It's obviously been a bit mad with the World Cup and that. So many games. But that's why the squad's there. So, you know, we're confident that anyone who steps in will do a job, and we just need to get some momentum going now.
One or two lads have just come back, and they're feeling their way back to full fitness. You've had 3 or 4 games now. Are you feeling 100%?
Yeah, I'd say I am now. It did take me a couple of games to get going, not going to lie. Didn't have much training just because of the nature of the injuries that we had. So kind of did get thrown back in, similar to some lads here, but they've maybe now they've got a bit of a chance to ease their way back in, and I think they'll be fine.
Enjoy, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Well, that's the thoughts of Ben Osborne, and as we look across the pitch there at Ashton Gate, nice to see that it looks rather better than it has been up here in the Sheffield area. It was to say it was raining was an understatement on my drive up here this afternoon. But anyway, that's looking ahead to tonight. Let's now enjoy once again the highlights of the weekend and that 2-0 away win against West Bromwich Albion.
Almost ready to go here at the Hawthorn, looking to get back to winning ways. John Fleck. Doyle looking for ball, looking behind. Chance for McBurnie, misses his kick. Ndiaye surely. And Sheffield United take the lead. 7th goal of the season for Iliman Ndiaye. Showed great composure. And United hit the front at the Hawthorns. Fleck. Norwood something to deal with, but he does well. Now Ndiaye away from a couple of challenges. Wonderful play by the Senegalese international. Still going here. Gives it to McBurnie. Oliver McBurnie! Wonderful goal! A 7th for the season for Oli McBurnie. Iliman Ndiaye played a huge role in the goal. Terrific break. And what a tidy finish from McBurnie. 2-0 Blades. Ndiaye, is he onside? The flag has stayed down. Ndiaye. And still, Ndiaye! Here he is again, looking to set Ndiaye clear. Iliman Ndiaye round the keeper. Ndiaye! It was a really tight angle. Put in by Egan, strong challenge. Can United profit? Here's Ndiaye, gives it to Norwood. It's opened up for Norwood here. Norwood! Ndiaye lashes onto that one. Doyle went for the near post, and now Sharp with the layoff to Basham, first time looking to hit Oli McBurnie, brings it down beautifully. McBurnie gets the shot away, it's a good block. 191st career appearance for Sheffield United for Enda Stevens, closing on the 200 now. Layoff by Ndiaye. Norwood, chance to hit it. Oli Norwood got underneath it.
Ndiaye and McBurnie, both of them clearly going very well indeed, both on the score sheet, and that makes it 7 each so far this season. They're men in form, and we spoke to Oli McBurnie, who was understandably very pleased indeed with his overall contribution.
Goal and assist and a victory, I think, so we'll be having words about that. But no, I was good. I thought, you know, with the way that it's been going recently, it was about just getting 3 points on the board, and I thought we started off well. You know, the 2 goals were really good play, and after that it was like felt like it was of old. You know, when we go up front by a couple of goals, then you know we see out games and we keep a clean sheet and we win the game.
Really organised team performance, wasn't it today? The fact that you gave yourself that 2-goal head start as well to really take it through.
Definitely, like I say, you know, I think that's what we used to do. We'd get a goal in front or a couple of goals in front, and we felt confident that we wouldn't concede. So, you know, we said at half time we don't concede and we win the game, and simple as that. So I thought the boys at the back were excellent defensively, and we take the 3 points and we go again on Tuesday.
So claiming an assist for the first one then, yeah?
All day long, yeah. I seen Illy's in a better position than me and the ball's a bit behind, so I just flicked it to Illy, and trust him more in front of goal than I trust myself, so there we go.
Yeah, it looked that way from us as well, Ollie.
Yeah, no doubt, mate. You know me, eyes in the back of my head.
In terms of your goal though as well, I mean the way you two are kind of working together now and really building that partnership, you must have kind of really enjoyed playing with him.
Yeah, he's a pleasure to play with, honestly. It's like, you know, I think at the start of the season, the first game, I can't remember, I think it was Blackburn, maybe the first game we played together this season, and as soon as I come off, a couple of my friends said to me like, oh, have you and Eddie played together a lot before? And we never really had played. It was just kind of one of them things. Sometimes with players you have an instant kind of connection, you kind of know what each other's going to do, and you know, I just give him the ball sometimes and he makes me look good. So no, he's a pleasure to play with, and you can see the ability. The kid's unbelievably talented, so yeah, he's a real joy to play with.
Oli McBurnie talking about that partnership with Iliman Ndiaye, and we'll be looking in more detail at that a little bit later on. But so far as Ollie's concerned, lovely to see him back scoring and looking full of confidence after what was at times a difficult season last year. And so far as the manager, Paul Heckingbottom's concerned, he was understandably very upbeat looking back at his team's performance.
I think there's a bit of everything in it. I thought there was how we wanted to set up and play with and without the ball. I thought we did it, and the 2 goals were fantastic. And then it obviously changes the nature of the game, and we have to defend very well. And we did that as well. And then we have to make changes, and people playing out position, we're making the subs, and the personality of the players was top draw, you know, for people to be the same expectations put on them when they're playing out position, and to come here against some good players and keep a clean sheet and still be a threat going the other way was good. We showed a bit of everything.
All set up by a really good start and 2 goals within the first half as well. You must have been pleased how you set the tone for the game today.
Yeah, we've been one that's suffered in it, and regardless of how we play, we've conceded the majority of the first goals, and we wanted to change that. And the goals were good. So I've not seen them back and read about well. I remember the ball across, big diagonal ball, George putting it across for the first time, really good area. Ollie's trying to claim an assist for that air shot, and then Iliman puts it in, and then the second. Then we had passage of the play where we were good and controlled the ball. We spoke about using our spare man a lot, the spare man in midfield, if they wanted to jump and press, find it, and we did it. And we did that as well on the counter for Ollie's goal, upset the spare midfielder, front men, and then we've got a 2v2, which was great. So yeah, all those bits, like I said, were very good.
The travelling army of supporters, Brian, very, very happy with what they'd seen. There was a sense of relief, but also, I think, really pleased to see United back buzzing and playing well, and those 2 up front, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a dogged performance from us all round. I think I've sat in this chair, you know, Kevin, and we've watched games and we've seen, you know, performances that have been disjointed. But that was a good performance against a club that you would think, with the stature that they have, would have put in a better performance. But it was overwhelmingly a dominant performance, I felt, especially with the first half. And also, like, we come back to the front 2 again. You know, they really seem to have gelled really well. It's really good to see that, you know, finally there seems to be a couple of players who have kind of decided that, you know, this could be them for the season, and it's good. I think it creates a good competition. Okay, Brewster's out injured again. You know, we've got Billy in today. Billy, I know from being around that age group that Billy will feel like he's got something to prove. He'll want to be involved in the party when it comes to you know, who gets the most goals again this season. So it's all, you know, it's bubbling away nicely. You know, sometimes, you know, you can be up at the top and get shot at. You know, you're there to be shot at. You're there for everybody else to look at. But I feel that this isn't a bad situation to be in. But I still think that, you know, we need to, you know, if we can get 3 wins from the next 4 games, I think that puts us in a really good position.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, winning tonight, and then if they could turn over the current league leaders, Burnley, here at Bramall Lane on Saturday, well, it'd be happy days, wouldn't it, Kevin? And, you know, I mean, it was lovely to see the reaction of the fans. You know, we have this great travelling support. Home support is a given here, but have this terrific support on the road. And I'm sure the players would have been delighted to have given them a real sort of journey home with a smile on their faces.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The away support is magnificent, isn't it? Win or lose, you know, they're always there in the numbers, and they do make all the noise, as the song goes. It's great to see. But I agree with Brian. It was a solid performance. On Saturday we weren't at our free-flowing, you know, scintillating best. We had the best chances, we had the majority of the chances, but we had to dig in as well, and that's what pleased me, because all round the pitch we didn't give West Brom an inch. You know, we won tackles when we needed to, and we pressed, and it was all round the pitch. Usually when you talk about a defensive display, you're talking about the defenders having to work hard, but the midfield, you know, Ollie Norwood, Doyle in there was very combative, you know, winning tackles, intercepting things, and Ndiaye doing his job, McBurnie doing his defensive duties. You know, all round the pitch we were up for it, and I think that was the base of our success. And I think that's been the base of our success, you know, in the last 18 months. Really solid defensively. When we had that run of games, that unbeaten run of games, we had 6 or 7 clean sheets. You know, it was no coincidence that we were winning games. That's what we need to get back to, because we've been shipping a few too many goals recently.
Well, Wes Fodringham back in the team tonight after suspension, so I'm sure he'll be only too pleased if he can keep a clean sheet. Let's just take a look at the current championship table. And there's United, you know, considering we supposedly had a bit of a sticky patch, that doesn't make bad viewing, does it, Brian?
No, not at all. You know, I mean, look, it's always, it's nice to be in the mix. I think, like I said, I would have preferred, if I'm quite honest, some of those performances and some of those results that we had, we could have been out of sight now, couldn't we? We could have been ahead of Burnley. But, you know, we've also talked about the strength and depth of this squad has got. I think there's still questions to be answered in terms of the squad depth now, having gone through that. But look, a lot of the work was done early doors in terms of being able to keep us, you know, give us a good foundation for the season. So, you know, that's not a bad place to be.
Well, the squad depth has been severely challenged, hasn't it, with the recent events? You know, the injuries we've had in the first quarter of the season, third of the season, and we've done remarkably well to still be anywhere near that, to be honest.
Let's just take a look at the run of recent results here, Kevin. And that win against West Brom, that's going to be the feel-good factor. Bit unlucky against Blackpool with that draw there. The draw against Norwich City, which was ultimately a pretty good comeback, wasn't it?
Well, in both those two home games, the Blackpool game and the Norwich game, we did more than enough to win the game. So our performances were okay. You know, the two away games, we didn't do an awful lot at Coventry. We were marginally the better side. Stoke was quite disappointing. I thought that was a poor performance. So yeah, we haven't, as I say, we haven't been terrible, but we haven't had. I'm going to say the run of the ball sometimes. You know, I think, as I said earlier, I think just the events have conspired against us somewhat, and we haven't. Whereas the ball was running for us in the first 10 games or so, and we were winning games like Swansea, we were getting all 3 points where we really probably just about deserved a draw. You know, they average out over a period of time, and I just don't think we've been getting the results we should have done in the last 4 or 5 games. We're going to take a look in a moment at the highlights of the Bristol City game last year, but just before that, as you look ahead, you know, I mean, if they're going to build on last weekend, there's tonight's game, then it's Burnley, Rotherham, Cardiff City. You know, if there's a good return from those, Brian, things, as we've seen, that table very close, and it could really see United surging upwards.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, tonight is going to be a very tough game. You know, Bristol City seem to, you know, they're a bit up and down, but you know, they have the ability to be able to turn anybody over. Burnley's going to give us a real kind of insight into where we are really, because they are, at the moment, they seem to be the team that's found a little bit of consistency. You know, they've got a couple points lead, you know, in the table, and then we kind of, you know, we need to be going into the break, you know, on a high for me, you know, because we don't want to be, you know, have that period of time to think about where we are when we've not won, we're out of form. You know, we want to have that feel-good factor around the place for as long as possible, I think.
Last year, it wound up being 1-1 when Sheffield United went down to Ashton Gate to take on Bristol Rovers. Let's take a look at the highlights from that match.
Another vital game in the race for the playoffs. Sheffield United look to return to winning ways. Good tempo about this from United. Ndiaye slips it in, nice little dummy, Gibbs White, lovely play. Brilliant save by Bentley. United still on the attack. Now it's Berger. Fleck. Shot from distance again from Norwood. Berger. Right to challengers, gets the shot away. Goes the cross. Gibbs White to strike into the wall. Can Bentley prevent the corner? He can, but he's given it straight to Ollie Norwood. Headed away on the edge of the penalty area. A bit of space. And Berger gives chase, and the goalkeeper's miles out of his penalty area. Berger takes it around him. Ndiaye's in the box. Looking for Norwood. Baldock. Stevens. Ndiaye. Chance for United. Lovely ball by Fleck. Stevens. Now Fleck. And it goes. That was a really good header. At the other end, chance for Martin. Bristol City's first real shot in anger. And Chris Martin puts the hosts in front. Here's Stevens in a pocket of space. Keeper spills it. Gibbs White.
Yes.
There's the equaliser. And it's Morgan Gibbs White, the first to react to the spill by Bentley, and Sheffield United are back on level terms. James with a free kick. Can it fall to a black jersey? Asula's done his best to get it, and he has got it. Asula strikes towards goal. He earned the right to have a shot. Here's Hourahan, drilled into the penalty area. Might have been some contribution from Conor Hourahan. That was his first touch and his only touch. It's finished 1 apiece.
Well, that was last year, and we've got, of course, our trip to Bristol City coming up. Live match action for you a little bit later on. And looking ahead, these are the games coming up. We've got Burnley at home at the weekend, 12:30 kickoff there, and Rotherham against Sheffield United. That's another home match, and we're going to be on air from 7 o'clock. And Cardiff City away, that's a 3 o'clock kickoff, and we'll be on air for that one from 2 o'clock. And of course, they will be wearing that kit today. If you want to order it, please go online and do so. And they're doing the sizes in adults, junior and mini sizes. Well, let's now just recap on the Sheffield United team news. This is how they're going to be lining up today. And 4 changes there, Kevin.
Yes, a couple we kind of thought would happen. Wes coming back, no surprise there. I think he's our number 1 goalkeeper. I don't think there's any dispute about that. Really good to see Jack Robinson coming back into the side. Because of the suspension to Armor Hodic, we had to make the change, but I think Jack, if he can get back in the side and get back to the form he showed last year, I think he's going to be a real asset in that defence, because last year he was absolutely magnificent at the back end of last season, winning important headers and winning tackles and really driving on that in that left centre-back role. It also allows Chris Basham to play his more natural right centre-half role. So he's been forced to play on the left at times, and I think he's much more effective on that right-hand side, much more natural position for him. And then we've got Kedra, of course, coming into the side, a big opportunity for him. Slightly changing formation, so we've got John Fleck and Norwood will anchor the midfield, I think, today, especially as we're away from home. They won't be getting forward quite as much. Kedra will be the one who will be allowed to float here, there and everywhere and just, you know, get amongst Ndiaye and Billy Sharp up front there. So interested to see how that all works out. But I think that team you see in front of you there, more than good enough to go to Bristol City and get all 3 points, if the absolute least I expect us to get a point.
And you'd go along with that, Brian, would you? Big night for Kedra.
Yeah, I was going to say, last time I saw him play was against Stoke, and I was underwhelmed. You know, he was, you know, he's a player that we talk about, we expect to have a bit of a spark, and it was quite disappointing, but we know he's got quality. So I want to see him get on the ball in those little positions in between the midfield and the back 4 of Bristol, and link up with Ndiaye, because I think, Ndiaye, because I think that with the combination that we've got with smaller players, very good at getting, you know, little 1-2s and so on. He could be the link man. But yeah, it is a big game for him, because we've got plenty of options in that position as well.
Let's take a look at Bristol City and see how they've been faring of late. Victory over Preston, then there was a defeat to Millwall against West Bromwich Albion. They won 2-0, defeat against Reading 2-0, and then a draw against Swansea. So as you said a little bit earlier, Kevin, they've kind of been up and down.
Yeah, I mean, they're not brilliant, to be fair. I mean, lots of the stats have put them at 23rd, second bottom of the league. You know, they're perhaps shouldn't be where they are. I think they're 14th or something like that, 13th, 14th. So they're not a great side. The onus is on us, to start the game and in the same way we approached West Bromwich Albion and really take the game to them. And I think if we do that and we play the Sheffield United way, I think we have more than enough quality in our side to get a result this evening.
We've got the Bristol City team news now. I think we've got the lineup which we can show you, and they make one change from that Swansea City game. I think it's Vyman who comes back in.
Yeah, they are an athletic side, especially they play with wing-backs as well, 3 centre-halves and wing-backs. And the wing-backs are Mark Sykes and Jay De Silva, and they do fly up and down the wing. They get lots of crosses in, funnily enough. I've been talking about they're not a brilliant side, but the one thing they do is get lots and lots of crosses in. They're not top-quality crosses, but any opportunity they get, they will fire the ball into the box. And the other name most people will know is Nancy Wells, of course. He's been around the block, hasn't he? Decent striker. You've seen him a few times, Deane, haven't you, probably?
Yeah, I've seen Nancy, I've seen Naki.
So he gets his goals. He's a decent player, but again, nothing our centre-halves can't really handle.
He's, just on what Kevin said there, he's in that category now of somebody who's got experience, and you just hope that he's not in one of the... We don't come off this saying he's mugged us, for a couple of goals or something, because he's getting into that category now where he's got experience, he knows his way around the box, and he's probably their main goal threat.
He's their Billy Sharp, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that sums him up, yeah.
Well, you mentioned him as one of those to watch, and we've highlighted one or two others as well. You can see that we've got the picture of Naki Wells, the 32-year-old striker down there on the bottom right, but as well as that, Rob Atkinson, young defender, Alex Scott, just 19 years old, in from him, and 19-year-old midfielder, then Vyman, who's back in the team, now 31, and a young striker, 20-year-old Tommy Conway. Any thoughts about any of those, Brian?
No, I think we've just mentioned Naki Wells. It's interesting to see Nigel Pearson giving those young players an opportunity. They look really young, don't they?
They do, don't they? Are you sure that's not the youth side?
Yeah. Say Alex Scott looks about 14, didn't he?
Yeah.
But as you say, they're athletic. They'll run about a lot. They'll be up for the game. Whether they have the quality to really hurt us is another matter. So, I repeat what I said earlier. I'm confident we have the quality in our side to cause them major problems.
Wyman's been around for a while, and I don't really know a lot about Atkinson, but yeah.
Well, young kids who are looking to make their mark, and I'm sure we shouldn't forget, and I'm sure that the manager will be instilling in the team that Bristol will be well up for the possibility on their own turf of getting what would be regarded as a very, very good home win for them if they were in some way able to pull it off. But the big point for Sheffield United is about the guys up front, isn't it? And particularly Iliman Ndiaye. We've already waxed lyrical about him, but let's just talk a little bit more, because he has really stepped up to the plate this season. No Morgan Gibbs-White, and he's become almost the target, the main focal point up front.
He's our talisman, isn't he? He's doing all this, and all the opposition players know all about him now. He's not a flash in the pan. They'll be well aware of him, but he's managing to do it with all the defenders around him at the moment. And as Brian said earlier, and we've spoke about previously, he seems to be able to get hold of the ball and keep the ball in ridiculously tight situations and hold men off and wriggle his way free. And then once he is free, as we see here in this clip, he just drives at players and forces them back. I fully expected him in that clip to keep going. I was actually surprised he played McBurnie in, because we know what he's like, Ndiaye. When he gets on the roll, he scored against Fulham, where he kind of came of age when we beat him down there last season. And he scored in the home game down here, I think it was Reading or Blackburn, when he dribbled through a la Fulham and slotted it in with his left foot. So he's just playing with utmost confidence, and he's got all the flair and the technique and the ability in the world.
Yeah, technique, I mean, that's a good word to expand on, because he's clearly a lad who's got it in spades.
Yeah, I think if you look at his background, he played a lot of futsal, a lot of street ball, which is quite intense, you know. But you know, I'm looking at him in those clips, and his body language is just so, you know, he's so laid back, but he's so much in control. You know, he's the one who's dictating. That's a young man to me who's very confident, in how he's playing, but also in his ability. You know, he doesn't. I've not really seen him have a patch of form that has been, you know, drop him. He's almost somebody who, you know, when he hasn't started, it's because we're thinking he's going to have a better impact in this game, more particularly towards the end. But yeah,
and a great, it seems to my untutored eye, a great awareness of what's going on around him. You know, you talked about the fact that you thought almost that he was going to go it alone against West Brom, but didn't. Picked out Oli beautifully, and he's got that awareness.
Yeah, I think that comes with experience, doesn't it? He's still. He's not a young lad. He's not 18, 19. I think he's 21, maybe 22 now. Yeah. 22, so he's a little bit older than some of the other youngsters, you know. And he's got a few games under his belt now, and he's been around for a couple of years. He's been in the Sheffield United, you know, around the first team a couple of years. He's just come into a proper age now. He's got great awareness of people around him. Just talking about him holding the ball, he's also got this fantastic ability to just stand still. Some youngsters, you know, they're running all the time, aren't they? Here, there and everywhere. Their enthusiasm gets the better of them. But he like controls things. He puts his foot on the ball. He stands still. He has a good look round. He sees runners. He waits for defenders to kind of try and nudge him out of the way, and all of a sudden he's off and running. It's fantastic to watch. And then when he's not standing still, when he does get in full flow, oh my word, he's fantastic. He did one step over on Saturday, and I think it was Jake Livermore who was against him. And there's photos on social media, and Ndiaye is going that way, and Jake Livermore is like looking in the complete wrong direction. He's absolutely sent him out the ground nearly. He had to pay to get back in, I think. It was fantastic to see. Wonderful ability.
Let's hope that Iliman Ndiaye can continue playing as well as he has been doing alongside Billy Sharp tonight, because Oli McBurnie not on the pitch, but Ollie's sort of found so much confidence again, hasn't he? He's got his goal-scoring flair back, and he's also got 7 goals to his name and working so well with Iliman.
Yeah, I think, you know, any forward, you know, the most important thing to any striker is scoring goals, because that's how you build your confidence. I think it's a little bit different to other places on the pitch. You know, you could say that a goalkeeper will, you know, if he makes a couple of saves, he then starts to kind of be more confident. But definitely as a forward, you live and die by what you do. And I've watched games, and I felt at times that, you know, McBurnie might be in the box, but he doesn't want to head it, you know, when he's been really out of form or he hasn't scored for a while. And I think now he's putting himself in those positions to score. You know, there's a big difference. I've been there, you know, you kind of, you want to score, but you're scared of missing. And I think that, you know, he's now in a position where, you know, he wants to score with every opportunity. And I think it's just a shame that he's got this hernia coming up, because it's sod's law, isn't it?
Well, hopefully that's going to be sorted out, and he'll go on and have a really good back end of the season as well after the operations taken place. But, you know, when you talk about Iliman and indeed about Billy tonight alongside him and McBurnie, you know, they provide very different problems for a defence, don't they, Kevin?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think if we leave Billy to one side at the moment, McBurnie and Ndiaye, who have been christened McJaye, by the way, by Carla Saba, the dream partnership is called McJaye now. Anyway, that's a Saba's little joke. But they've got everything. They've got, between the two of them, they've got aerial prowess, they've got physicality, they've got a bit of pace in Ndiaye, they've got trickery, they've got goals, which is the most important thing from a strike partnership. You know, if we can keep them, if we can get McBurnie through the next few games and get him back fit for the second half of the season after Christmas or mid-December or whatever, you know, we will be really, really flying, because defensively we're strong, the midfield's good. If we can get them two, just keep them going, it'll be fantastic for us.
What's the inside word about how long before he's back to full fitness when he has the operation? Is it going to be
A hernia these days is keyhole surgery. It shouldn't. It should be a couple of 3 weeks.
Max,
It's not a big operation, is it?
They get what happens now. I mean, I remember I had a hernia when I was at Leicester, and literally within a few days I was back up walking, and then you're kind of trying to get about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen people come back quicker than that, but I'm not hard enough, me. You know what I mean?
And it can't. Sorry, John, but it can't be a huge hernia tear because he's still playing.
Well,
he's still getting through it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's a small tear, a small repair, and he'll be back flying, very soon.
Well, we've talked a lot about Sheffield United as a striking entity, but as we looked ahead to the match this weekend, this evening, it was Chris Basham who was brought out in front of the media to give his thoughts on how it's going and what sort of a game this would be.
Yeah, and after not winning on 6 games, you wouldn't see yourself in the Championship, especially being there or thereabouts. So for us to still be there, and we've done it before, we'll do it again. You've got to try to chase the top 3 teams now. So we're hunting them down with some big games coming up before this winter break, and hopefully we'll have some more lads coming back after that. It's big for the boys now, and especially after the win, hopefully it can be a good week this week and taking it into next.
4 games now between now and the World Cup break. Is it all about just keeping that momentum going after West Brom at the weekend over these next 4?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a lot of disappointment in the last 6 with not winning. Obviously, being 2-0 up against Blackpool was a big one. I think we'll learn from that come the weekend against West Brom, and picked up a 2-0 win in a tough environment. So hopefully we can go to Bristol and pick up a result there, and every game as it comes, because the manager probably doesn't know which players he's going to have come the weekend.
And how are you feeling about a mid-season break, in a way? It is a strange old season, this one.
I didn't like it at the start, but at the moment I think it's needed for our team, for our players. I love playing all the way through winter and stuff like that, but it'll be nice to watch them in the World Cup, get a bit of a break with our families, reset ourselves, reset our bodies, and ready to go again. If we can start like we did at the start of the season, it'll be a great lift for us.
Love the accent, Chris Basham there. I don't know if you can do a Chris Basham accent, can you, Brian? But I mean, when you look at him play, he's the sort. When you look at him play, he's the sort of guy who, when he's really on his game, he can be inspirational. He's
Mr. 100%. I mean, he's been here. How long's Chris been here now?
He's been here about 8 years, isn't he? Something like that.
I mean, you get consistency. You get 100% from him, and he's the kind of guy who, the youngsters should be looking up to in terms of the commitment that he gives when he's on the pitch. He gives everything. I know Gage is a massive fan.
I think he's brilliant. I mean, he's Basham Barrow, isn't he, as they call him. He came as a central midfielder. He was a kind of combative central midfielder, and he was okay. He wasn't anything special. He was just a good player. And then, of course, we created this. Chris created the overlapping centre backs, and my word, he's made for that role, and he made that right side centre back role his own. And he's just been brilliant over the years. A couple of people getting on his back recently because he gave away a penalty, but they conveniently forget the fantastic tackle at Swansea. Yeah, which got us all 3 points. And we just seen on the B-roll on the video there, made another brilliant sliding tackle as Swansea were just coming through. So he's Mr. Reliable, he's Mr. Sheffield United, and I hope he's here for a few more years yet.
Right, well, you're going to be disappearing off to do a little bit of commentary for us, not too far ahead from now. So before you disappear, come on, Mystic Kev.
Pressure's on, is it, to get it right?
Are we going to win?
I do genuinely think we'll win tonight. Yeah, I was very, very uneasy about the West Brom game, actually. I didn't think we'd get much out of that, and I was proved wrong. So hopefully I'll be right tonight, because I do fancy us to get all 3 points, if not at least a point.
People out there hang on your every word, Kevin, and there's 1 or 2 people who even like to invest, I've heard, a little bit of a gamble on what you say. What's the score going to be?
I don't want to be responsible for any losses, thank you very much. They're financial losses. I'm going to go for, I think we'll win. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think we'll win 2-0 again.
Well, enjoy the game and look forward to chatting to you at half-time. In the meantime, let's again look ahead to the pre-match press conferences that were given. And this is the thoughts looking towards Bristol City this evening of manager Paul Heckingbottom.
Yeah, started well. They're playing some good football. So like pleasing on the eye to watch. Yeah, a couple of changes. Sometimes we played with a 3-man midfield. Sometimes we played with a 2 and a 10. Certainly a threat on the counter and got willing runners in behind. Seems to be Naki Wells, Conway or Semenya. Yeah, so we know that they've got good threats. I know Nigel had to change the team a lot the last game with illness and such, so whether players come back in, I'm not too sure, but I would still expect the 3 centre-backs, the willing runners of the front 2, possibly a 10 or a 3-man midfield, like I said. So, yeah, I don't think too much will change in the style. We'll just have to wait and see what personnel he puts out.
And finally from me, clearly there's plenty of time left in the season, but 4 games now until the World Cup break. How important is this little spell now in trying to go in there with some momentum?
Every game's important. These 4 games for us is managing this squad through it, which is important. That's why I said it's important for us to maximise his chances of picking up points in all these games, because nothing's really going to change in terms of the players coming back. So it can only get worse, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's why it's important. Without lowering expectations, without lowering standards, we're still trying to win every single game, which we can do. We know the challenges of it, but it's something we've been, yeah, listen, not just this season, last season, it's something we've had to do, and we've been all right.
A realistic assessment from the manager about what's coming up, what's gone, and again, Brian, highlighting the importance of these next 4 games, and he's saying, you know, we're well capable of going out there and winning all of them, but also just that little bit of caution about how the fact that he's got the injuries and at this stage can't see things changing dramatically with people coming back.
Yeah, I mean, you know, looking at the injuries, I mean, we were talking at the beginning of, before they had the poor run, that they were going to go the season and just walk it, and then, you know, some of the younger players come in. You know, you have to shuffle the pack, doesn't quite work out. So he will have learnt a lot from that as well. So his own expectations now are a little bit more cautious. But I think that he will be quietly happy and confident because, you know, the last result showed a lot of promise in terms of steadying the ship. You know, we had the goalkeeper, Wes was out suspended. Before that, Oli McBurnie had been suspended for a game. Sander Berg's out, you know, we've got Anel as well to come back. So
now Ryan Brewster as well.
Ryan Brewster, but you know, I think that you know, all in all, you know, we all know that injuries happen during the season, but to be in, you know, just behind the leading sort of like the likes of Burnley at this point isn't a bad place to be. And then you've got your Sanderbergs to come back in, Ryan Brewster when he's fit as well. It's about options, as we've always talked about, you know, having the options to be able to put a team out that can do a job on the opposition. And I still believe that, you know, this squad is as good as any squad in the division.
I don't know how Paul is behind closed doors with his players.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, speaking, I guess I'm a fan, really, like most of the people watching here.
Yeah.
He gives a very calm persona, which kind of inspires a bit of confidence, doesn't he? He's not always the most demonstrative, but he appears to get things done, and he's very calm as well, what he gives out.
Yeah, I think that's just his persona, though. And as a player, you know, you kind of... Different players react to different types of personalities. And I think that having, you know, Paul how he is, then you've got Stuart McCall, you know, it's a good mix, you know, because I'm sure that, you know, Paul's it doesn't look like somebody who naturally will go in the changing room and rant. You know, that might be Stuart McCall's job now and again. But I think, you know, the impression I get is that it's quite a relaxed environment. And I think that probably suits the players we've got now.
Who are the people who you reacted to and got the most from, Brian? I mean, you talk about how maybe Stuart goes in and gives it the big one every now and again. I mean, does there need to be somebody in that coaching setup who, to an extent, fear's perhaps not the right word, but the possibility that he is going to fly off the handle?
I think one of the managers who I learned a lot from was George Graham. You know, George was like he was like the school teacher you had, where you never wanted to be late into the lesson, and but if he gave you praise, you knew that it was, you kind of puffed your chest out, and he would dig you out as well. So you never knew what you were going to get from him. It was a real, but that kind of heightens your senses.
Dig you out in the sense that if you'd had a bad one, he'd be prepared to say it in front of your teammates.
Exactly. And I've had managers who, all they did was berate players, and in the end, the players will just switch off. And then I've had managers who, it takes a while for them to lose a temper, but when they do, so I think a lot of it comes down to players managing themselves realistically. As players get older, you've got to think about how you prepare, whether it's managing yourself on the pitch or, managing your persona in the changing rooms and what you're giving to everybody else. It's very important.
We've all heard the phrase, sort of when a manager goes or things aren't working, he's lost the dressing room. Keeping that spirit and fostering that spirit of togetherness is, I guess, what it's all about.
Yeah, and it's a very good point, because, when you are that guy at the top, the players are looking at you. They're looking for your reaction to everything. And if they get a chink and they think that you don't believe it anymore, they'll pick up on it. And so, it's a real kind of, you always have to be managing, what's going on in the changing rooms.
I bet as a player, you kind of know that in a nanosecond as well, don't you? If somebody is actually no longer believing himself, you as a player will look at him and you'll know.
But what happens is, you might know, but then I guarantee you 2 or 3 other players will pick up on it, and then it just spreads like wildfire. So that's when you've got a real problem. It's always good, I think, when I was managing, it's good not to let them know too much. It's always good not to let them get too close to you as well. Make sure you keep a good length away from the players, and don't stand for no nonsense. That was one thing about George Graham. He didn't have favourites, and I've been in the changing rooms when there's been managers who've had favourites with players, and it just built resentment in the group, and then in that particular instance, everybody knew that it was a level playing field then.
Well, it's certainly, so far as Sheffield United are concerned, it all seems to be pretty good at the moment. The feelings with coming out of that dressing room seem to be positive, particularly after last week's win. And we're not too far away from heading over to Ashton Gate. We'll be joining our commentators before too long. And, we asked Kevin what he thought. He thought a win for Sheffield United tonight. What do you reckon, Brian?
I'm going to have to go with a win. I feel they might score, because they're the home team. But I feel that we've got enough within the team and the game to be able to win this 2-1.
Right, well, that's the build-up all done. Time now to go over to the ground and to hear from our match commentators, Kevin Gage and, first of all, Matt Young.